idea of being able to get access to content can enable something that's really practical and useful and reaches communities who otherwise wouldn't be reached. You may ask where the heritage comes in. This is a picture of Amsterdam. You can't see it very well on the screen, but the Dutch people are really good at mapping, it seems. So the road network is very well mapped. So if you need to find your way anywhere, this map is probably as good as Google. And if something's been built very recently, then it's probably better than Google. So it is worth checking out. The address is openstreetmap.org. So on to the heritage aspect. And this is a map that I made, so I'm just showing it just to show off, really. And it's of a zoo in the UK that I visited recently. And this map is far more detailed than anything you'll see on Google Maps. And it shows you where the elephants are and all those sorts of things. And lots of large sort of scale outdoor visitor attractions and heritage attractions have been quite extensively mapped like this on Google. So for big, open, wide space attractions and heritage tourism places, it's a really good tool. So that's one way of using it, of just being able to see your museum on a map in high detail. But does anybody recognize this place? No? Anyone? Beemster, yeah? So this is a World Heritage Site that I discovered from Wikipedia. And here's an old map that's on Wikimedia Commons. And you can compare that to the map that's being produced by volunteers going out with their GPS and tracking it to see how a place has changed. So that's one way of using this resource to relate to cultural heritage and the heritage of a community and of a geography. But I wanted to go one step beyond that. So this was what I talked about in the OpenStreetMap conference that I was at in Amsterdam in July. A project I've been working on in my own time in Manchester has involved spending a lot of time here in the beautiful library that's just down the road from me, which has lots of old maps of the local area, as well as books about the architecture and the buildings that exist. And so using this resource, this cultural resource, I was able to create a map which can change over time. You might not be able to see this too well on the screen, but this is 1800. This is 1800 in Manchester. And as we flick forward through time, you'll see how the city changes. So this is 1830, 1840, 1850. And then it hit the Victorian period, where a lot of the modern buildings in Manchester were built. And then 1990, 2000, and 2010. So that's being able to use the data that's in OpenStreetMap to show a timeline of how a place has changed over time. And this is just a kind of very quick demo that I did for the conference. But something I've been working on and collaborating with other people on is a way of being able to roll this out on a much wider area and be able to really take an image, a map of an area, and roll back the time to see how that area has grown. And I think that will be a huge resource for understanding the history and the heritage of a city and of a location. And this is me presenting at the conference. And the thing on the screen, which you probably can't read, is kind of me showing how you can use the map to tell a story about a place. So on the map, on the screen, it shows you how a bank near me in Manchester was built in 1934, and then that information's on the map. And in 2001, it was a construction site for a year, and then from 2002, it was a pub. And so this data is all captured in the map, and we can use it to then, as you scroll back through time, not only can you see buildings and places appear when they were built, you'll be able to see how a place changes and evolves and adapts to meet the needs of its participants and to fit with history.
May I ask one question? Because there's an anxiety in the back text about cultural institutions not presenting themselves all too eager to collaborate with non-institutional initiatives like the one you're describing. What's your experience there? Are they collaborative? Is this library in Manchester providing you all the help that you want in order to make this kind of map project? Or do you have to fight for it?
Well, personally, I mean, the library just gives me the access, so I didn't know how to go and do it all myself. But I think there is, when people see the possibilities, I think institutions see how they can collaborate in a much more in-depth way and really use those archives, those histories that they have, and be able to sort of really participate with the people, do things like inviting groups of people into the institution to collaborate and to speak to the experts and to consult with the documents. And also, I mean, I'd like to see these kind of resources used on the websites of these institutions. And so there's a real kind of two-way relationship going on. So I don't think it's happening yet, but I think it really could do.
Okay, okay.
Another project that I've been working on, I'm kind of showing you some of the stuff that I've been doing to show that it's not just talk, but it's trying to put some stuff into action. This is a blue plaque in London, actually, and it's a blue circular enamel plaque that's stuck to buildings. And I'll read out the text. It says, "We're English Heritage" at the top. That's the main heritage organisation in the UK. And then it says, "Sir Henry Cole, 1808 to 1882, campaigner and educator, first director of the Victoria and Albert Museum, lived here." So this is something that English Heritage does in London. It puts these monuments onto buildings to give people a sense of the history of them and the important people who have lived there. So what do they do on their website to tell you about this? Well, currently they've just got a long list of all of them. And it goes down for pages and pages. And it tells you the text that's on it, but it doesn't really do very much else. And myself and a few collaborators, over the course of a weekend, decided that this wasn't really fulfilling our needs, our interests, our desire to know about the city we lived in. So over the course of a weekend for a competition, we built a service, and to start that, we sent emails to English Heritage and to a few other organisations that put these plaques on under the Freedom of Information request. I don't know if you have that in Netherlands, do you? Yeah. So it's a great, powerful tool for extracting information from reluctant organisations. So we said, "Dear Sir and Madam, I'm compiling a map of all the blue plaques in the buildings. Please provide me a list of all of the ones they provided, including when they were put up and the geolocation of them, if they know them." So whilst we saw that list beforehand, other institutions that also do these plaques don't give you any information at all. So this was a very crude way of extracting some of that information. And thankfully, a few of them wrote back and gave us these internal PDF documents that detailed all these buildings and people who have lived in the city, and told us where they were. And this was information that was never previously available. So we built a website in this weekend called Open Plaques. It's at www.openplaques.org. And this is the homepage. It's very simple. It shows you a map of the UK and gives you an indication of where some of these plaques are. And then on the pages themselves, you see the text that's on the plaque. Willie Clarkson, 1861 to 1934, theatrical wig maker, lived and died here. And that's on Wardour Street in Westminster, in case you want to visit. So whilst we got the text from the Cultural Heritage Institution, English Heritage, in this case, the map was found by someone going and finding that plaque, taking a photograph of it, uploading it to Flickr, putting it on a map, and tagging it with a certain tag that we gave them, which means that it comes on this page. And we managed to get a lot of people interested in going out and finding these historical locations, taking these photographs, and participating in a collaborative way in this project, just over the course of one weekend.
Can I critically squeeze something in?
I'm glad I've got an interpreter.
Yes. Someone asked, it's all very interesting.